I punished my son for being homophobic towards a gay friend. And then he opened up about why he said those things. I don't know what to say. I 36M have a son 15M and a daughter 17F. And they've been friends with our neighbor, whom I'll call Ron, 17M, since childhood. Recently, my daughter and Ron were hanging out with a friend, and they walked into our house as they left their friend's place. This is where the problem occurred. My son, who was at home with me, let out a big sigh after seeing Ron and asked why he was here. I was confused by what he meant. That's when my son vented about being tired of Ron's constant presence and made hurtful comments about his sexuality. Ron is gay. It was shocking because my son had never expressed any issues with the neighbor before and had always been close to him. Ron was visibly hurt and offered to leave, but I insisted he stay. But he said it was okay and left anyway. My daughter and I were rightfully upset, and I admit we were yelling. I asked what his problem was. He yelled back, saying he couldn't help not wanting to be around Ron all the time. I tried being calm, asking my son why he would say something like that to Ron. At this point, my daughter had already left and gone with Ron. My son refused to answer me and just kept saying he was sorry. I told him I wasn't the one to be saying sorry either. I told him I raised him better than this, and this made him cry. In the heat of the moment, I made the decision to ground my son. I took away his phone, PS5, and all his electronics, leaving him with only the TV in his room without the remote. He started crying even more and begged me not to go through with it. But I stood firm, telling him he needed to apologize to Ron the next morning. Now, I'm conflicted. My daughter supports my decision, but when I spoke to Ron, he suggested I let it go, assuring me he would be okay. I think he might be right. I tried talking to my son again, but he is straight up refusing to talk to me and keeps saying, "Please leave him alone," in a quiet tone. I don't think I'm in the wrong for grounding my son, but I'm wondering if I went too far, considering it's his first time saying something like this. Am I the RC hole for the way I grounded him? Comments. Sick tone. NTA for calling your son out. And I can't really speak on the ground. I'm not a parent. I will say that I think a talk with your son about what those comments mean would be good. Even at 15, he may not really understand just how stigmatizing that is. And it could be bred from stuff he hears at school and online. I also wouldn't expect Ron to step in. It feels pretty embarrassing to have received those comments. I'd reassure Ron that he's always welcomed and that you're talking about this topic with your son. TTNL 35. No matter what else is going on, homophobia isn't okay. You can't be teaching your son, homophobia is okay if you were in a bad mood at the time, or homophobia is okay if you are angry with a gay person. There are a couple of scenarios I can think of that require more delicate follow-up, despite the fact that they still don't excuse homophobia. 1. Maybe your son is attracted to men and is unhappy about it, so using homophobia to overcompensate. 2. Maybe Ron asked your son out or made a move, and your son is worried he comes across as gay, so using homophobia to overcompensate. OP. Yeah, I've been reading the comments, and a lot of people suspect that Ron did or said something to my son. I felt horrible because that never even came to mind. I was thinking about confronting Ron and asking him about it, but I didn't want to accuse Ron of doing something without evidence and potentially making things worse. So I told my son I would consider giving his electronics back if he told me why he said what he said and reacted that way towards Ron. I told him that I'm not going to force him to tell me, but I'll be here when he's ready to talk, and he just told me, okay. Update. 2 weeks later. Hello everyone. I wanted to provide an update on the situation regarding my son. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for your insights and advice. It's been a challenging time, but I'm happy to share that my son was finally open to talking to me. After I grounded my son, he still refused to talk to me until a couple of days ago. On Wednesday, he told me that he wanted to talk to me. I was so happy that my son was finally open to talking to me. Anyway, long story short, my son told me that he has feelings for Ron, and when he told Ron that he liked him, Ron rejected him and told him that he viewed him more as a little brother instead. This honestly shocked me because I didn't think my son was gay, so I guess some of you were right. My son started crying and asked me if I still loved him, and this broke my heart. I told him that I love him regardless, but he has to understand that his actions were wrong, and he can't just be hateful towards Ron just because he rejected him. We then had a heart-to-heart conversation about love, rejection, and respecting others' feelings. After our conversation, he told me that he didn't mean what he said, but he just wanted Ron to leave because he didn't want to see him. I then told my son that he should apologize to Ron, but he said that he doesn't want to see Ron right now because he feels it would be awkward. I decided not to force my son to apologize to Ron directly, understanding that forced apologies might lack sincerity. Instead, I encouraged him to reflect on his actions and, when he's ready, express his remorse in his own way and at his own pace. Trying to be understanding, I decided to return his TV remote and PS5. However, his phone remains confiscated as a reminder to him that the way he behaved was not acceptable. Ron and my daughter have distanced themselves from hanging out around our house. If I'm being honest, I'm positive Ron knew what this was about, because he was adamant about not punishing my son for what he said. I do admire Ron because of his maturity and his kindness. Now, my daughter is upset with me for being lenient. She said that I'm actively supporting his homophobic behavior. I told her that I had a heart-to-heart conversation with her brother, and that he understood what he did wrong, but she was still upset. My son didn't want to come out to his sister yet, so I didn't feel comfortable telling her what the conversation was about. Anyway, I'm glad my son was finally open with me about how he was feeling, and I'm glad that we were able to finally talk. But I'm sad that my daughter is upset with me, so now I have to work out a way to fix my relationship with her. However, I do think this will blow over once my son is finally ready to come out to his sister, and I'm hoping she'll understand why I decided to be a little lenient with his punishment. Comments. Limitless Megan. I'd sit your daughter down and tell her that you understand how she's feeling, but that you'd hope she'd trust you as a dad. You've had a heartfelt talk with her brother, but you've also talked to Ron about it from his perspective. Your decision to loosen the punishment a bit was based on both the conversation with your son and how Ron wanted it dealt with. I'd tell her you're glad she had a heart for justice, but that you hope as she matures, she'll discover that the heart of justice is wherever possible restoration and reformation, not punishment. And as her brother's parent, that is what you have striven for here. And while she doesn't know or needs to know the specific details, she can trust that your decisions were made with justice and restoration equally in mind. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.